A Year at the Circus, written and read by Jon Sopel. To Rosalind, my wonderful sister. Forward. One of the things about covering the Trump White House is just how much is going on all the time. Objects flying towards you, 24/7, ceaseless noise, constant activity. It's exciting and relentless, and occasionally exhausting. But the frustration for most of us covering these events is how much goes unreported. My main outlet as the BBC's North America editor is the 10 o'clock news in the UK. That will on average contain 8 to 10 of the most important and interesting stories from around the world that day. If I'm to find a berth in the running order, it's going to be on the one standout event. That never does justice to all the stories that don't quite pass the threshold of being globally significant, but which, nonetheless, are fascinating. So when BBC Books asked me to come up with an idea to follow on from If Only They Didn't Speak English, my first thought was to try to find a mechanism to report some of the untold gems of this unique administration. That's what I've tried to do in the pages that follow. And thanks to my publisher Yvonne Jacob and publicist Claire Scott and copy editor Steve Dobell and literary agent Rory Scarr for their support. Likewise Malcolm Balin in the BBC for his input. In this endeavour I have to single out Ron Christie. He's our in-house BBC analyst on this administration. He served with distinction in the Bush White House, runs his own political consultancy, and as well as being a Republican strategist, also finds time to teach at Georgetown University and NYU. He also, somehow, found time to read my manuscript, and all I can say is lucky students to be taught by him. His incisive intellect picked up on any number of sloppy judgments, half-baked assumptions, weak arguments, and occasional inaccuracies. And like all great teachers, he managed to point all of this out while being immensely encouraging too. Any errors that remain are entirely down to me. There are 3 other people I need to thank. In Washington, we seem to have an astonishing procession of super-talented young Americans coming into the Bureau straight out of college. 3 of the best are Morgan Gisholt-Minard, Cosima Shelfoot, and Aidan Johnson. Brilliant minds, good fun to have around, great colleagues with an unbelievable work ethic. I have no idea what they'll end up doing, but I'm sure they have stellar futures ahead of them. I'm only grateful they found time to help with vital bits of research and fact-checking on this book. One other shout-out, Jon Sopel. He's the logistics maestro of the office, and I can't imagine how my life would function without him. And last, but certainly not least, my wife Linda, for her constant encouragement and enthusiasm for this latest project. Oh, and Alfie, our miniature German Schnauzer. Editorially, he's still weak, but for companionship, he's an A+. Never complaining about going for long walks when my mind becomes a mushy mess and needs to be cleared, and just as happy to doze for hours on the sofa in my study while I write. Introduction. It's the 12th of July 2018, and President Trump, on a baking hot day, has a much-anticipated joint news conference with Theresa May at her official country house Chequers in the rolling Buckinghamshire Hills. Much anticipated because the night before, Donald Trump has given a scabrous, freewheeling interview to the Sun newspaper, criticising Theresa May over her handling of Brexit, warning that America wouldn't be much interested in a trade deal with Britain if it was still some way yoked to the EU. And then, to add a good sprinkling of chili powder onto an open wound, went on to say that Boris Johnson would make a very good Prime Minister. Well, if that was a game of darts in your local pub, those 3 barbs would have the scorer calling out, 180! Unerring darts, Donald. Except he probably hadn't meant it, or at least hadn't calculated the fallout. But this was day 3 of a tour which had already seen the US president clash with the leaders of NATO over the resistance of many member states to paying 2% of their GDP into the collective security coffers. And while he was in Brussels, he got into a fight with the leaders of the EU over trade, and then he came to London and gave Theresa May a mauling. In this topsy-turvy world, the president was going on to Helsinki in Finland on the latest stop on his tour to hold a one-to-one summit with the Russian leader Vladimir Putin, which he predicted
Sample complete. Ready to continue?